Sometimes the smallest accident reveals the biggest secret. The chandeliers above me looked like frozen stars. Their light spilled across polished marble and crystal glasses worth more than my monthly rent. I tightened my grip on the silver tray and forced myself to breathe. One more hour. That was all I needed. One more hour serving wealthy strangers before I could go back to my tiny apartment in Queens. At 25, I had mastered the art of being invisible. Smile. Serve drinks. Keep moving. Never draw attention, especially at events like this. The annual Hawthorne Foundation Gala filled the Grand Meridian Hotel with politicians, executives, and people whose names appeared in magazines. People who never noticed women like me. I preferred it that way. My black uniform fit perfectly. My blonde hair was pinned into a neat bun. Around my neck hung the only valuable thing I owned. A silver necklace with an old compass pendant. I touched it whenever I felt nervous. I had worn it for as long as I could remember. The pendant was older than my earliest memory. Older than every foster home. Older than every unanswered question. Champagne refill, please. A guest extended an empty flute. I smiled and stepped forward. Soft music drifted through the ballroom. Laughter echoed beneath the ceiling. Everything felt calm. Then I heard a voice. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just close enough to catch my attention. Two men stood near the terrace entrance. Expensive suits. Serious expressions. Their conversation seemed private. I immediately looked away. Curiosity caused trouble. I knew that better than anyone. But one sentence slipped through the noise. If she appears, everything changes. My steps slowed. Another voice answered. Then she can never be found. A strange chill ran through me. Before I could move on, someone brushed past my shoulder. The tray tilted. My balance shifted. Time seemed to stretch. Crystals slid across silver. My fingers reached for the nearest glass. Too late. The flute hit the marble floor. The sound cracked through the ballroom like a lightning strike. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. My heart dropped into my stomach. No, 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 I whispered. I immediately knelt down. Heat rushed into my face as I gathered the broken pieces. Embarrassment burned through me. Hundreds of eyes seemed fixed on my mistake. Then something changed. The room grew quieter. Not because of the glass. Because of someone entering the space. I felt it before I saw him. The atmosphere shifted. Heavy. Focused. Intentional. I looked up. A man stood across the ballroom. Tall. Dark suit. Sharp features. Absolute confidence. Lucien Moretti. Even I knew the name. Everyone did. Some people built businesses. Some built influence. Lucien built empires. His green eyes locked onto me. Not the broken glass. Not the mess. Me. My pulse stumbled. For a second, he seemed completely still. Then his gaze lowered. To my necklace. His expression changed. Only slightly. But enough. Surprise. Real surprise. The kind powerful men rarely showed. My hand instinctively moved toward the compass pendant. Lucien took one slow step forward. Then another. The crowd parted without being asked. Nobody spoke. Nobody interfered. His eyes never left the necklace. Finally he stopped. 20 feet away. Close enough for me to see the tension in his jaw. Close enough to notice something I never expected. Recognition. As if he had seen that pendant before. As if he knew exactly what it meant. A security guard appeared beside him. Lucien spoke quietly. Yet somehow the words reached me. Bring her to me. The guard nodded immediately. My breath caught. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Lucien Moretti wasn't interested in a waitress who dropped a glass. He was interested in the necklace I had worn my entire life. My knees felt weak as the security guard approached. Around me, the gala slowly came back to life. Conversations resumed. Glasses clinked. Music returned. Yet everything sounded distant. Like I was underwater. The guard stopped beside me and offered his hand. Miss Whitlock, he said politely. Mr. Moretti would like a word. My stomach tightened. Nobody said no to a man like Lucien Moretti. At least that was what people whispered. I rose carefully and brushed invisible dust from my uniform. My fingers found the compass pendant again. The metal felt cool against my skin. Familiar. Safe. The guard led me through the ballroom. Every step felt longer than the last. Guests watched discreetly. Some with curiosity. Some with envy. Others with concern. I wished the marble floor would open and swallow me whole. Lucien stood near the terrace doors. The city skyline glowed behind him. Thousands of lights stretched across Manhattan like stars scattered across black velvet. He looked completely still, calm, controlled. Yet something in his eyes felt different now. Less distant, more focused. When I stopped in front of him, neither of us spoke immediately. His gaze settled on the pendant resting against my collarbone. "Your necklace," he finally said. His voice was lower than I expected. Smooth. Precise. "Where did you get it?" The question surprised me. Not because he asked. Because he sounded almost desperate for the answer. I touched the pendant again. "I do not know." His eyes lifted to mine. "You do not know? I have had it my entire life." I swallowed. At least as far back as I can remember. Something flickered across his face. Not disappointment. Calculation. "Who gave it to you?" "Nobody knows." I shook my head. "I grew up in foster care." Silence followed. The sounds of the ballroom seemed miles away. Lucien stared at the pendant for several seconds. Then he asked another question. "Do you remember your parents?" The answer came easily because it never changed. No, his jaw tightened slightly. Nothing at all. Just fragments. I looked away. A woman's voice. A lullaby. Maybe a house near water. I am not even sure those memories are real. For the first time, Lucien looked unsettled. It lasted less than a second. Then the mask returned. Perfect control. Perfect composure. "What is your first memory?" The question felt strangely personal. "A foster home in Connecticut." His eyes narrowed. "How old?" "Maybe 5. And before that?" "Nothing." A sharp breeze drifted through the terrace doors. The pendant shifted against my skin. Lucien followed the movement with his eyes. Recognition flashed there again. Stronger this time. As if the necklace belonged to a story he knew by heart. "Mr. Moretti," I said carefully, "why are you asking me these questions?" He did not answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his jacket pocket and removed his phone. After a brief glance at the screen, his expression hardened. Whatever he read, he did not like it. The phone disappeared just as quickly. "Because," he said quietly, "some objects carry history." I frowned. "It is just a necklace." "No," his voice sharpened. "It is not." The certainty in those words sent a chill through me. Before I could respond, another man approached. Older. Gray hair. Expensive suit. He leaned toward Lucien and spoke softly. I caught only 3 words. "She is here." Lucien's attention shifted instantly. The older man handed him a small photograph. Lucien studied it. His face lost color. Only slightly, but enough for me to notice. Then his eyes moved from the photograph to my necklace. Back to the photograph. Then back to me. A terrible realization seemed to settle over him. "That is impossible," he whispered. I was not sure he meant for me to hear it. "What is impossible?" I asked. Lucien looked directly into my eyes. For the first time all evening, I saw uncertainty there. Real uncertainty. The kind powerful men rarely reveal. Then he folded the photograph and slipped it into his pocket. "Miss Whitlock," he said carefully, "I need you to answer one more question." My pulse quickened. "What question?" His gaze dropped to the compass pendant one final time. "Has anyone ever tried to take that necklace from you?" The question caught me off guard. I blinked at Lucien. "Take it," I repeated. He nodded once. His eyes never left my face. "Has anyone ever tried?" I searched my memory. Foster homes. Social workers. School records. Apartment moves. Temporary families. Nothing seemed unusual. Nothing except one moment. A moment I had almost forgotten. "Maybe," I said slowly. Lucien became completely still. "Tell me." I glanced toward the ballroom. The music continued. Guests laughed beneath the chandeliers. Yet the terrace suddenly felt isolated from the rest of the world. "When I was 12, I said, a woman visited one of my foster homes." Lucien listened carefully. She asked strange questions. "What kind of questions?" "Questions about the necklace." His expression darkened. "What exactly did she ask?" I closed my eyes, trying to remember. "She wanted to know where I got it." And I told her I did not know. A cold breeze swept across the terrace. "What happened next?" Lucien asked. "Nothing." I shrugged. At least that is what I thought. He waited. A week later she disappeared. The silence between us stretched. Disappeared? The foster director said she moved away. I laughed nervously. Honestly, I never thought about it again. Lucien looked toward the city skyline. His jaw tightened. "And nobody else?" "Not that I remember." His eyes returned to mine. "Try." Something about his voice made me dig deeper into old memories. Faces. Schools. Temporary bedrooms. Birthdays spent with strangers. Then another image surfaced. There was a man. Lucien immediately focused on me. What man? I was 16. My pulse quickened. He saw the necklace at a diner where I worked. Then what? He offered to buy it. Lucien's expression changed. How much? $5,000. For a moment he said nothing. $5,000? I thought he was crazy. I smiled weakly. The necklace looks old, but it is not valuable. You refused. It was not a question. Of course. Lucien exhaled slowly. What happened after you refused? He left. I frowned. The next day he came back. Lucien's eyes narrowed. And he doubled the offer. The older man standing nearby exchanged a look with Lucien. Neither seemed surprised. That frightened me more than anything. You still refused? Yes. Lucien nodded as though confirming something important. Good. Good. I repeated. Why is that good? He did not answer. Instead, he studied me with an intensity that made my chest tighten. Miss Whitlock. Marin. The correction slipped out before I could stop it. For the first time, a faint smile touched his face. Brief. Almost invisible. Marin. Hearing my name in his voice felt strangely different. More personal. More real. The smile vanished just as quickly. There is something you need to understand. Every instinct told me I would not like what came next. What? Lucien looked toward the ballroom entrance. Several men in dark suits had quietly positioned themselves nearby. They appeared relaxed. Yet their attention remained fixed on the surrounding area. Watching. Observing. Waiting. Your necklace is not random, he said. My heart skipped. What does that mean? It means somebody has been looking for it. Why? That is what I am trying to determine. His answer only created more questions. You know something. Not enough. His honesty surprised me. Powerful people usually pretended certainty. Lucien seemed genuinely unsettled by what he did not know. The older man stepped closer. Lucien. His tone carried a warning. Lucien glanced toward him. What is it? The man lowered his voice. Even so, I caught a few words. Vehicle outside. How many? 3. A shadow crossed Lucien's face. Already. The older man nodded. My stomach tightened immediately. What is going on? Neither man answered right away. Lucien reached into his pocket and removed the folded photograph again. This time he looked at it longer. His expression grew more troubled with every passing second. Finally, he held it out toward me. Marin, he said quietly. I need you to tell me if you recognize this woman. I took the photograph with trembling fingers. The image showed a young woman standing beside a waterfront house. She was smiling. Wind moved through her hair. Around her neck hung a silver compass pendant identical to mine. And when I looked closer, my breath stopped. Because the woman in the photograph had my eyes. The photograph trembled in my hands. Not because of the wind. Because of what I was seeing. The woman looked almost familiar. Not in the way strangers sometimes resemble each other. Something deeper. Something impossible to explain. Her eyes matched mine perfectly. The same shape. The same color. The same intensity. My throat tightened. Who is she? I asked. Lucien did not answer immediately. His gaze remained fixed on the photograph. That depends on which version of the story is true. The words settled heavily between us. What does that mean? He looked toward the skyline. 20 years ago, a woman disappeared. My pulse quickened. This woman. He nodded. Her name was Evelyn Hart. I stared at the smiling face in the photograph. The name meant nothing to me. Yet something about hearing it felt strange. Familiar. Like hearing a song from childhood without remembering where. What happened to her? Lucien folded his arms. Nobody knows. People do not simply disappear. Sometimes they do. His voice carried a weight that made me believe him. The older man shifted uneasily beside us. Lucien. Lucien ignored him. Evelyn vanished with a young child. My heart skipped. A child? He nodded again. The child was never found. The sounds of the gala faded completely. My mind raced through possibilities I did not want to consider. You think that child was me? Lucien studied my face carefully. I think the possibility can no longer be ignored. My breath caught. That is impossible. Maybe. No, I shook my head. There would be records. Records can disappear. There would be witnesses. Witnesses forget. His answers came too quickly. Too confidently. You sound like you already believe it. Lucien looked away. I believe coincidences are rare. My fingers tightened around the photograph. And what if you are wrong? For the first time, uncertainty crossed his face. Then I owe you an apology. Before I could respond, The older man stepped closer. We need to leave. Lucien immediately became alert. Why? More vehicles arrived. The tension returned instantly. I felt it before I understood it. The atmosphere changed. Every security guard nearby straightened slightly. Their attention shifted toward the ballroom entrance. What vehicles? I asked. Nobody answered. Lucien removed his phone again. He read a message and exhaled slowly. Interesting. What is interesting? I asked. He slipped the phone away. Someone is asking questions about you. A chill moved through me. Who? We do not know yet. How can somebody ask questions about me? I laughed nervously. I am a waitress. No, his eyes locked onto mine. That is exactly the problem. The certainty in his voice frightened me. For 25 years, I had been invisible. Ordinary. Forgettable. Suddenly powerful people were discussing me like I mattered. I hated it. I want to go home. The words escaped before I could stop them. Lucien's expression softened slightly. I know. Then let me leave. Not yet. Why? He looked toward the photograph still resting in my hand. Because tonight changed something. I followed his gaze. Because of this? Because of what it represents. My frustration grew. Nobody is explaining anything. Because there is not enough information. Then find information. The older man almost smiled. Lucien did not. That is exactly what I intend to do. A sudden memory surfaced in my mind. Small. Fragile. Barely there. I frowned. Wait. Lucien immediately focused on me. What is it? I remembered something. The words surprised even me. From when I was little. Neither man moved. Tell me. I closed my eyes. The memory appeared in fragments. Ocean waves. A white porch. A woman laughing. Then a voice. Clearer than anything I had remembered before. What did the voice say? Lucien asked quietly. My heart pounded. I opened my eyes. It said, never let anyone take the compass. Silence followed. Absolute silence. Then Lucien's face lost all color. That, he whispered, is exactly what Evelyn used to say. The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. I stared at Lucien, waiting for him to tell me I had misunderstood, waiting for him to laugh and call it a coincidence. He did neither. The wind moved across the terrace. The city lights shimmered below us. Yet all I could hear was my own heartbeat. How do you know that? I asked. Lucien's gaze remained fixed on me. Because my mother knew Evelyn Hart. My breath caught. Your mother knew her? He nodded slowly. Very well. Questions crashed through my mind. Too many. Too fast. Then who was she? Lucien looked toward the skyline again. Someone important. Important to who? To several families. That answer only deepened the mystery. You are avoiding the question. A faint shadow crossed his expression. Because I do not have proof yet. The older man beside him checked his phone. His face tightened immediately. Lucien. The warning in his voice was unmistakable. Lucien turned. What now? Another inquiry. From where? Boston. My stomach dropped. Boston. The city where my last foster placement had been located. Lucien became very still. That was fast. Too fast, the older man replied. Neither seemed pleased. I folded my arms tightly. Will somebody please tell me what is happening? Lucien looked directly at me. Someone started searching for your records tonight. A chill spread through my chest. My records? Foster care files. How is that even possible? Money makes many things possible. I hated how calmly he said it. As though this sort of thing happened every day. Why would anybody care about my records? Lucien did not answer. The silence told me everything. He had theories. Dangerous ones. You think they are connected to Evelyn. I think they may be connected to you. The words landed heavily. For 25 years my past had been empty. Suddenly everyone seemed interested in it. That terrified me more than I wanted to admit. I need air. The statement sounded ridiculous the moment it left my mouth. We were already standing outside. Yet I felt trapped. Trapped by questions. Trapped by possibilities. Trapped by a photograph. Lucien seemed to understand. Sit down. I almost laughed. You make that sound like an order. It was a suggestion. A very expensive suggestion. To my surprise, a small smile appeared. It softened his face for half a second. Then it vanished. You are handling this better than most people would. That is because none of it feels real. The honesty slipped out before I could stop it. Lucien nodded once. Fair enough. For several moments neither of us spoke. The sounds of the gala drifted through the open doors. Somewhere inside, a string quartet began playing another song. Everything seemed normal. Yet nothing felt normal anymore. Then my phone buzzed. The sound nearly made me jump. I reached into my pocket and glanced at the screen. Unknown number. A text message. My pulse quickened. What is it? Lucien asked. I opened the message. There were only 6 words. Never let them find the compass. My blood turned cold. The exact phrase from my memory. The exact phrase Evelyn supposedly used. My hands began shaking. Marin. Lucien stepped closer. I handed him the phone without speaking. He read the message once. Then again. The color drained from his face. The older man moved beside him. Who sent it? I whispered. Lucien's eyes lifted to mine. For the first time that evening, I saw something stronger than curiosity in his expression. Concern. Real concern. He returned the phone carefully. Did anyone else know about that memory? No. Did you ever tell anyone those words? Never. Lucien looked toward the ballroom entrance. Every trace of calm disappeared from his face. We are leaving. My stomach tightened. Leaving. Now. Why? His gaze locked onto mine. Because whoever sent that message knows exactly who you are. The urgency in Lucien's voice erased any temptation to argue. 1 minute, I had been serving drinks beneath crystal chandeliers. The next, a stranger with too many secrets was telling me to disappear. I am not going anywhere with you, I said. The words sounded stronger than I felt. Lucien held my gaze. Marin, listen carefully. I have been listening all night. Then listen one more time. Something in his expression stopped me. He was not angry. He was worried. Truly worried. The realization unsettled me. Men like Lucien Moretti were supposed to make other people nervous. They were not supposed to look nervous themselves. The older man stepped closer. The car is ready. Lucien nodded without looking away from me. Good. I folded my arms. I still do not understand why I cannot go home. Because somebody found you before we did. My stomach tightened. What does that mean? It means your life was ordinary yesterday. His voice remained calm. It is not ordinary anymore. I hated that answer. Mostly because part of me believed it. The text message still glowed on my phone screen. Never let them find the compass. Those 6 words echoed through my head. Who sent it? I asked. We are trying to find out. That is not an answer. It is the only one I have. The honesty caught me off guard again. Lucien seemed frustrated by the gaps in his own information. That made him feel unexpectedly human. A moment later, another vibration buzzed through my phone. My heart nearly stopped. Lucien noticed immediately. Show me. I looked down. Another unknown number. Another message. This one was shorter. Trust nobody. My hands began shaking. That is impossible, I whispered. Lucien took the phone and studied the screen. His jaw tightened. Interesting. Nothing about this is interesting. Actually, it is. I stared at him. Somebody is trying to warn you. Or scare me. Maybe both. The older man checked the ballroom again. We should move. Lucien finally nodded. Agreed. Before I could protest, he held up one hand. You have 2 choices. I narrowed my eyes. This should be good. You can leave alone. He paused. Or you can spend one night somewhere secure while we investigate. Secure? Yes. That sounds suspiciously like a prison. To my surprise, Lucien almost smiled again. You would be free to leave. Then why would I stay? His expression grew serious. Because somebody knows about a memory you never shared. The words hit harder than I expected. He was right. I hated that he was right. No logical explanation existed for those messages. No reasonable explanation existed for the photograph either. Or the necklace. Or Evelyn Hart. Every answer seemed to create 3 new questions. One night. I asked quietly. One night. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we start finding the truth. I looked toward the ballroom. Guests continued laughing beneath golden lights. Their lives remained normal. Mine no longer felt that way. For 25 years I had searched for clues about my past. Now clues were finding me. That frightened me more than anything. I took a slow breath. One night. Relief flashed across Lucien's face. Gone almost immediately. Thank you. The older man motioned toward a private hallway beside the terrace. Lucien stepped aside and gestured for me to walk first. After you. I hesitated. You really think I am in danger? For the first time all evening, he did not soften the truth. I think someone spent 20 years hiding a secret. His eyes dropped briefly to the compass around my neck. And tonight that secret started looking back. The private hallway felt strangely quiet after the noise of the gala. Soft lights lined the walls. Expensive paintings watched from polished frames. Everything looked elegant. Everything felt wrong. I followed Lucien and the older man toward a private elevator at the end of the corridor. My shoes clicked against the marble floor. The sound echoed in the silence. "You still have not told me his name," I said. Lucien glanced toward the older man. "This is Vincent Hale." Vincent offered a small nod. "Nice to finally meet you under less chaotic circumstances." I almost laughed. "This counts as less chaotic." A faint smile touched Vincent's face. "Trust me, it does." The elevator doors opened immediately. Nobody else waited inside. Lucien stepped aside and motioned for me to enter first. The gesture seemed old-fashioned. Unexpected. I stepped inside. The doors closed behind us. For a moment, nobody spoke. The elevator began descending. My reflection stared back from the polished metal walls. Blonde hair, black uniform, silver compass pendant. An ordinary woman standing between two men who clearly knew more than they were saying. "What happens now?" I asked. Lucien folded his arms. "Now we move somewhere private. And then we start asking questions." I shook my head. "You make it sound simple." "It is not simple." His eyes met mine. "But it is necessary." The elevator reached the underground level. The doors opened onto a private parking area. Several luxury vehicles waited beneath bright lights. Men in dark suits stood nearby. Not intimidating, just alert, organized, focused. It looked less like a parking garage and more like a carefully managed operation. "This is your normal life?" I asked quietly. Lucien looked around. "More or less. It seems exhausting." To my surprise, he laughed softly. The sound caught me completely off guard. Sometimes it is. For the first time all evening, he seemed closer to my age. Less like a legend, more like a person. The moment passed quickly. One of the security men approached Vincent. They exchanged a few quiet words. Vincent's expression hardened immediately. "Lucien." Lucien turned. "What is it?" "We have another problem." Every muscle in my body tensed. Lucien noticed. "Talk." Vincent glanced toward me briefly. "The Foster records." My heart jumped. "What about them?" Vincent looked uncomfortable. "Someone accessed them 2 hours ago." Silence followed. Complete silence. "Accessed them," I repeated. "By who?" Vincent shook his head. "We do not know yet." Lucien's jaw tightened. "Can we trace it?" "The team is trying." My stomach felt hollow. For years nobody cared about those records. Now everyone seemed desperate to find them. "This cannot be real," I whispered. Lucien looked at me. "I know." "No, you do not." My voice cracked slightly. "Yesterday, I was worried about rent." I laughed nervously. "Now strangers are searching through my childhood." Lucien's expression softened. "You are right." I blinked. "About what?" "I do not know exactly how this feels." The honesty surprised me again. Powerful people usually pretended to understand everything. Lucien never seemed interested in pretending. But I know what it feels like when the past refuses to stay buried. The words lingered between us. Something about the way he said them made me wonder what secrets haunted him. Before I could ask, another security guard hurried toward us. His pace was controlled, yet urgency radiated from him. "Sir." Lucien turned immediately. "Report." "The search team found something." Vincent stepped forward. "What?" The guard looked directly at me. "A photograph." My pulse quickened. "Another photograph?" He nodded. "Yes." Vincent frowned. "Of who?" The guard hesitated. "Of Miss Whitlock." Every sound in the garage seemed to disappear. "That is impossible," I whispered. The guard swallowed. "The photograph was taken 20 years ago." For several seconds nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I stared at the guard, convinced I had heard him wrong. 20 years ago? I finally whispered. The guard nodded. "Yes." My mouth went dry. "That is impossible." Lucien looked no less stunned than I felt. "Where was it found?" The guard handed a tablet to Vincent. Inside a private archive connected to an old property investigation. Vincent studied the screen. His expression grew darker with every passing second. "Lucien." Lucien took the tablet. Silence followed. I watched his eyes move across the image. Then he slowly turned the screen toward me. My breath caught instantly. A little girl stood beside a white fence overlooking the ocean. She could not have been older than 5. Blonde hair, gray-blue eyes, a silver compass hanging around her neck. My compass. Not one like it. The exact same one. Even from the old photograph, I recognized the tiny scratch near the edge. The mark had always been there. "That is me," I whispered. Nobody argued. Nobody questioned it. The resemblance was undeniable. "What is the date?" Lucien asked quietly. Vincent checked the file. 20 years and 3 months ago. The garage suddenly felt colder. Where was it taken? Lucien asked. Vincent looked back at the report. Cape Cod. A strange sensation moved through me. Like a distant echo. Ocean air. White fences. A porch facing the water. Pieces of memory I could never fully reach. I remember the ocean, I whispered. Lucien immediately looked at me. What? Not clearly. I pressed a hand against my forehead. Just flashes. He stepped closer. Tell me. I closed my eyes. The image appeared only briefly. Sunlight reflecting on water. A woman laughing somewhere nearby. Wind, chimes moving in the breeze. Then it vanished again. It is gone. Frustration filled my voice. Every time I almost remember something, it disappears. Lucien remained silent for several seconds. Then he asked a question I did not expect. Have you ever had recurring dreams? I frowned. Dreams. The same dream. Over and over. My pulse quickened. How did you know that? Vincent and Lucien exchanged a glance. You have? Lucien asked. I nodded slowly. Since I was a kid. Tell me. I hesitated. The dream always felt silly whenever I described it aloud. Yet nothing about tonight felt normal anymore. There is a lighthouse. Lucien's expression sharpened immediately. A lighthouse. And a house nearby. I swallowed. Someone keeps calling my name. Nobody interrupted. I never see their face. My fingers tightened around the compass. But every time I wake up, I feel like I left someone behind. The silence afterwards seemed endless. Then Vincent exhaled slowly. The lighthouse. Lucien nodded once. A grim understanding passed between them. You know it, I said. It was not a question. Lucien looked away briefly. Maybe. My frustration returned instantly. Maybe. There was a lighthouse near the Hart property. My heart skipped. The Hart property? The house where Evelyn lived. Every piece of information seemed connected to a life I could not remember. A life that somehow belonged to me. Before I could ask another question, Lucien's phone rang. The sound shattered the fragile silence. He answered immediately. Talk. His expression changed as he listened. Concern. Surprise. Then something far more unsettling. Recognition. Are you certain? He asked. The answer clearly did not comfort him. Understood. He ended the call and slipped the phone away. Nobody spoke. Nobody needed to. The tension in his face said enough. What happened? I asked quietly. Lucien looked directly into my eyes. We identified who accessed your foster records. My stomach dropped. Who? He hesitated. That hesitation terrified me more than any answer. Finally he spoke. Marin. His voice lowered. The person searching for you has the same last name as Evelyn Hart. The words settled over me like cold rain. Same last name as Evelyn Hart. My mind refused to process it. Hart. I repeated. Lucien nodded. Yes. I stared at him. You were telling me that after 20 years, somebody connected to Evelyn suddenly started looking for me tonight. That is exactly what I am telling you. My pulse raced. Nothing about that sounded possible. Yet nothing about this night had felt possible. Vincent took the tablet from Lucien and opened another file. There is more. I almost laughed. Of course there is. He ignored the sarcasm. The search came from a private account registered under the name Caroline Hart. The name meant nothing to me. Who is she? Vincent hesitated. Lucien answered instead. Evelyn's younger sister. Silence followed. Complete silence. I looked from Lucien to Vincent. Then back again. You know her? Lucien nodded slowly. I knew of her. Past tense. Nobody has seen her publicly in almost 15 years. A chill moved through me. 15 years. She disappeared from public life shortly after Evelyn vanished. Every answer created new mysteries. Then how is she searching for my records now? Vincent folded his arms. That is the question. I looked down at the compass resting against my chest. For years it had been nothing more than an old necklace. A small piece of metal tied to a childhood I could not remember. Now it felt different. Heavier somehow. As if it carried the weight of 20 years. Maybe she has been looking all along, I whispered. Lucien's eyes shifted toward me. What? Maybe she never stopped. The possibility hung in the air. Vincent slowly nodded. That would explain several things. Such as? I asked. Several sealed inquiries appeared over the years. My stomach tightened. About me? Possibly. I closed my eyes. 25 years. Foster homes. Temporary families. Different schools. Different states. All that time someone might have been searching. The thought should have comforted me. Instead it made me sad. If somebody had been searching, why had they never found me? Lucien seemed to read the question on my face. Records were altered. I looked up immediately. Altered. Your foster file contains inconsistencies. Vincent handed me the tablet. Different dates. Missing signatures. Incomplete transfers. I scanned the screen. My chest tightened with every line. These mistakes cannot be accidents. No, Lucien said quietly. They cannot. For a moment nobody spoke. The garage remained silent except for the distant hum of ventilation fans. Then another memory flickered through my mind. Small, brief, yet stronger than the others. Wait. Lucien focused instantly. Another memory? I nodded. Maybe. I pressed my fingers against my temple. I remember a woman. My heartbeat quickened. Not clearly. Tell us anyway, Lucien said. I closed my eyes. The image sharpened. A woman kneeling beside me. Soft brown hair moving in the wind. A worried smile. Tears in her eyes. What do you see? Vincent asked quietly. She is holding my face. My voice trembled. She keeps saying the same thing. Lucien took a step closer. What is she saying? I swallowed. The words arrived suddenly. Clearer than any memory before. If we get separated, find Caroline. The moment I spoke the name, the world seemed to stop. Vincent's eyes widened. Lucien went completely still. Neither man said a word. They did not need to. Their expressions said enough. The woman from my memory knew Caroline Hart. And somehow, 20 years later, Caroline Hart had just started looking for me. The name echoed through the parking garage long after I stopped speaking. Caroline Hart. A woman I had never met. A woman I should not have remembered. Yet the memory felt real. More real than anything else from my childhood. Lucien slowly exhaled. That changes everything. I looked at him. You keep saying that. Because everything keeps changing. For once, I could not argue. Vincent glanced down at the tablet. The timeline fits. Too well, Lucien replied. My pulse quickened. What timeline? Neither answered immediately. That silence was becoming familiar. And I was starting to hate it. Please, I said. Stop talking around me. Lucien's expression softened. 20 years ago, Evelyn disappeared. He paused. 3 weeks later, Caroline vanished from public records. Why? Nobody knew. Vincent folded his arms. At least until now. A chill moved through me. You think she was hiding? Possibly. Lucien looked directly at me. Or protecting someone. My hand instinctively moved to the compass. Me. Neither man denied it. The realization settled heavily in my chest. For years I had imagined being forgotten. Abandoned. Unwanted. Now another possibility emerged. What if somebody had spent 20 years trying to keep me safe? Before I could process that thought, Vincent's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and immediately frowned. What happened? Lucien asked. Vincent looked unusually serious. We found Caroline. My heart nearly stopped. What? Vincent nodded. Maybe. I repeated. There is activity connected to an old property. Lucien stepped closer. Where? Vincent turned the tablet around. A map appeared on the screen. My breath caught instantly. Cape Cod. The same place from the photograph. The same place connected to the ocean memories. The same place connected to Evelyn Hart. That cannot be a coincidence, I whispered. It is not, Lucien said quietly. The certainty in his voice sent a shiver through me. Vincent enlarged the image. A small point appeared near the coastline. An old lighthouse property. Every hair on my arm stood up. The lighthouse. Lucien looked at me immediately. Your dream. I nodded slowly. My throat felt tight. It is the same place. Nobody laughed. Nobody questioned it. The pieces were fitting together too perfectly. When was the activity recorded? Lucien asked. Vincent checked the report. Yesterday morning. Silence followed. Then Lucien asked the question I was already thinking. Can we verify it? Vincent nodded once. A team already started. Hope sparked inside me. Small. Fragile. Dangerous. For the first time all night, I felt close to an answer. Close to the truth. Close to whoever I used to be. Then another thought appeared. What if she is waiting for me? Both men looked at me. What if Caroline knows exactly who I am? My voice trembled slightly. What if she has been trying to find me this whole time? Lucien's expression changed. Not doubt. Not skepticism. Something closer to concern. Then we find her first. First, I repeated. Before who? Lucien looked away briefly. That alone told me enough. There is someone else. He did not answer. Lucien. His eyes returned to mine. The person who altered your records. My stomach dropped. I had almost forgotten about that. You think they are still involved? I know they are. The certainty in his voice frightened me. Vincent checked another message arriving on his phone. His face immediately hardened. Lucien. The single word carried warning. Lucien turned. What now? Vincent swallowed. The property records just updated. Meaning? Vincent looked from Lucien to me. The lighthouse was sold. My pulse quickened. Sold to who? Vincent stared at the screen for several seconds. Then he looked up slowly. To someone using the name Marin Hart. The words hit me harder than anything else that night. Marin Hart. Not Whitlock. Hart. The name stared back at me from the tablet screen. Cold. Impossible. Familiar. That is not my name, I whispered. Vincent looked uncomfortable. Legally, no. Then why is it attached to the property? Nobody answered immediately. Lucien took the tablet and studied the record himself. His expression grew darker. When was the purchase completed? 3 months ago, Vincent replied. My heart skipped. 3 months. Yes. I shook my head. I have never been to Cape Cod. We know, Lucien said quietly. Then somebody used my identity. Vincent nodded. That appears to be exactly what happened. The realization made my stomach twist. Someone had been searching for me. Someone had altered records. Someone had connected my name to a lighthouse property I had never seen. None of it felt random anymore. Can we trace the purchase? Lucien asked. Vincent zoomed into another page. The payment came through a private trust. Whose trust? Vincent hesitated. The Hart Family Preservation Trust. Silence followed. The name sounded old, powerful, deliberate. Lucien slowly exhaled. I have not heard that name in years. I looked between them. What is it? Vincent answered first. It controlled several coastal properties decades ago, including the lighthouse. I asked. Yes. My pulse quickened. Every road seemed to lead back there. The lighthouse, the dreams, the memories, Evelyn, Caroline, the compass. It all pointed to one place. Before I could speak, another memory surfaced. Stronger than before. Sharper. I pressed a hand against my forehead. Marin. Lucien stepped closer. What is it? I closed my eyes. The image arrived immediately. Ocean wind. Bright sunlight. The smell of salt water. A wooden porch overlooking the sea. I can see it, I whispered. Neither man interrupted. The house. My breathing quickened. I can see the house. Lucien's voice softened. Tell me what you see. The memory unfolded piece by piece. White railings. Blue shutters. A lighthouse standing beyond the cliffs. Then a woman appeared. Brown hair. Kind eyes. The same woman from the photograph. Evelyn. She is there? I whispered. Evelyn. The name felt natural now. Familiar. Like something buried deep inside me had finally awakened. What is she doing? Lucien asked. My chest tightened. She is holding my hand. The memory became clearer. More detailed. More real. She keeps looking over her shoulder. Why? Vincent asked quietly. I swallowed. Because she is afraid. The answer shocked all of us. Especially me. For years my memories had been fragments. Emotions without context. Now they carried meaning. Fear. Urgency. Concern. Evelyn had been protecting someone. Protecting me. My eyes opened. The garage returned around me. Bright lights. Concrete floors. Lucien watching carefully. There is something else, I said. What? Lucien asked. My pulse raced. She gave me the compass. Silence. Absolute silence. Are you sure? Vincent asked. I nodded slowly. I remember her putting it around my neck. The memory felt undeniable. Real. Certain. Lucien stared at the pendant resting against my collarbone. Then it was never just a necklace. Before anyone could say another word, Vincent's phone rang. He answered immediately. Yes. His expression changed within seconds. Surprise. Then disbelief. Then something else. Hope. Are you certain? He asked. He listened for several more moments before ending the call. Nobody spoke. We all waited. Vincent looked directly at me. The team found a letter. My pulse quickened. A letter. He nodded. Inside the lighthouse property records. Lucien stepped forward. Who wrote it? Vincent swallowed. Then he looked directly into my eyes. Evelyn Hart. The air seemed to leave my lungs. A letter. Written by Evelyn Hart. Not a photograph. Not a rumor. Not a fragmented memory. A real letter. Something she had touched. Something she had written with her own hands. Where is it? I asked. My voice sounded smaller than I intended. Vincent glanced at his phone. The archive team is scanning it now. How many pages? Lucien asked. 3. Nobody spoke for a moment. 3 pages. 3 pages that might explain 20 years of silence. 3 pages that might explain why my childhood felt like a puzzle missing half its pieces. My hands trembled slightly. I clasped them together. What if it says nothing? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Lucien looked at me. You do not believe that. Maybe I am afraid to believe the opposite. His expression softened. That is understandable. I looked away. The garage suddenly felt too bright, too quiet, too unreal. 12 hours earlier, I had been carrying champagne trays. Now I was waiting for a letter from a woman who might have known me before I knew myself. Vincent's phone buzzed again. He checked the screen immediately. The scan is complete. Every muscle in my body tightened. Lucien stepped forward. Read it. Vincent opened the file. His eyes moved across the first page. Then he stopped. Complete silence filled the garage. Vincent, Lucien said. Read it. Vincent nodded slowly. His voice became quieter, more careful. If this letter is being read, then my greatest fear has finally arrived. My breath caught instantly. Vincent continued. The truth has found its way back to the sea. The words sent chills across my skin. Lucien remained perfectly still. Keep going, he said. Vincent, read the next line. To whoever finds this letter, know that every decision I made was for the protection of one child. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. One child. Me. It had to be me. Vincent continued reading. There are people who will search for her because of what she represents. Nobody interrupted. Nobody moved. If they find her before Caroline does, the past will repeat itself. The name hit me immediately. Caroline. The same woman from my memory. The same woman who had searched my records. She knew Caroline would look for me. I whispered. Lucien nodded slightly. Apparently she did. Vincent kept reading. If Marin is alive, tell her she was loved every day of her life. My eyes filled instantly. I lowered my head. 25 years. 25 years wondering why nobody came. Wondering if anyone cared. Wondering if I had simply been forgotten. Now a woman from my past was reaching across 2 decades to tell me otherwise. Continue, Lucien said quietly. Vincent swallowed before reading again. The compass belongs to her family. The lighthouse belongs to her future. Silence followed. Heavy, meaningful silence. My pulse quickened. The lighthouse again. Everything pointed there. Every memory. Every clue. Every answer. Vincent looked down at the next section. His expression changed immediately. What is it? Lucien asked. Vincent looked unsettled. There is a name. My heart skipped. Whose name? Vincent stared at the screen for several seconds. Then he looked up. The person Evelyn feared. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Lucien stepped closer. Who? Vincent took a slow breath. She wrote that if anything happened to her, one person should never be trusted. Nobody moved. Nobody blinked. Tell us, Lucien said. Vincent's eyes shifted from the screen to Lucien. Then back again. The name in the letter is not someone from the Hart family. My pulse raced. Then who is it? Vincent hesitated. For the first time all night, he looked genuinely shocked. It is someone connected to yours. Lucien's face hardened immediately. Vincent. Vincent finally spoke the words. Evelyn Hart warned Marin never to trust a man named Moretti. The silence after Vincent spoke felt endless. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The name hung between us like a storm cloud. Moretti. My eyes found Lucien immediately. For the first time since this night began, I did not know what to think. Every answer had led me closer to him. Every clue had pointed toward trust. Yet Evelyn's letter said the opposite. Lucien, I whispered. He did not look away. I know. His voice sounded different now. Heavier. Older somehow. Vincent lowered the tablet slowly. There is more in the letter. My pulse quickened. Read it. Vincent glanced at Lucien before continuing. The letter says the danger does not come from every Moretti. Confusion replaced some of the fear. What does that mean? Vincent scanned the next lines. Evelyn wrote that one man made a choice that changed everything. Lucien's expression hardened, as if he already knew where this was going. Keep reading, he said quietly. Vincent nodded. She says the child must learn the difference between a family name and a person's character. The tension in my chest loosened slightly. Not completely, but enough to breathe again. There is a specific name, Vincent continued. Evelyn did not blame the Moretti family. She blamed one man. Lucien closed his eyes briefly. Who? I asked. Vincent looked at the screen. Alessandro Moretti. The reaction was immediate. Lucien looked away toward the concrete wall. Something painful crossed his face. Something real. You know him? I said. It was not a question. Lucien nodded once. Yes. Who is he? His answer came slowly. My father. The words settled heavily in the air. Suddenly pieces began falling into place. The hesitation. The concern. The things Lucien never wanted to discuss. Your father was connected to Evelyn? I asked. Lucien exhaled. Years ago. Vincent continued reading. Evelyn wrote that Alessandro discovered something involving the Hart family trust. My pulse quickened again. The trust connected to the lighthouse. Yes. Vincent scrolled farther. She believed the truth placed several people in danger. Including me, I whispered. Including you, Vincent confirmed. For several moments nobody spoke. Then Lucien finally looked at me. Marin. His voice was steady. I did not know any of this. I searched his eyes. Every instinct told me he was telling the truth. Not because he was powerful. Not because he was convincing. Because he looked genuinely hurt by what he had learned. I believe you, I said softly. Relief flashed across his face. Gone almost instantly. Vincent cleared his throat. There is one final section. We both turned toward him. What does it say? I asked. Vincent read carefully. If Marin ever finds this letter, tell her the lighthouse was never meant to protect a secret. He paused. It was meant to protect her future. My throat tightened. Vincent continued. The property belongs to her by right. My heart stopped. What? The lighthouse was placed into trust for Marin Hart. I stared at him. You mean me? Yes. 25 years of questions suddenly had an answer. Not every answer, but enough. I was not forgotten. I was not abandoned. Someone had planned for me. Someone had protected something for me. Someone had loved me enough to leave a path home. Tears blurred my vision. I looked down at the compass resting against my chest. The same compass that had survived every foster home. Every move. Every lonely year. It had been guiding me all along. Lucien stepped closer. Not too close. Just enough. What will you do now? I looked up at him. Then toward the city beyond the garage entrance. Then back at the pendant. For the first time in my life, the future felt larger than the past. I think, I said quietly, it is time to go home. A faint smile appeared on Lucien's face. The first genuine smile I had seen all night. Then we will find the lighthouse. I nodded. Together? The question escaped before I could stop it. Lucien's expression softened. Only if that is what you want. I looked at the compass one final time. Then at the man who had changed everything with 4 simple words. The man I had been told to fear. The man who had spent the entire night helping me find myself. Yes, I said. Together. And for the first time since the glass shattered beneath those ballroom lights, I stopped feeling lost.